Hello and welcome back to Ethically Yours, a podcast to simplify sustainability. And I'm your host, Darshana. Pardon me if I sound a little out of practice as I resume podcasting after a really long time. But I'm so excited for today's episode as I'm speaking with an epic changemaker and entrepreneur. My guest today is Bhagyashree Jain, founder of the Disposal Company. She has spent most of her career in building ESG-first business strategies and sustainability solutions for waste management, plastic recycling, and net zero emissions. The Disposal Company will be turning 3 soon and is backed by Accenture and CIIE, which I think is an incubator for innovators set up at the IIM Ahmedabad. With over 40 clients across India, Singapore, and the UK, the Disposal Company is currently valued at a whopping $2 million and has offices in Jaipur, Mumbai, and Birmingham. But what exactly does the company do? Well, allow me to welcome my guest Bhagyashree to answer this and so many more questions. Hello, Bhagyashree. Welcome to Ethically Yours. How are you doing today?
Hi, Darshana. Thank you so much for having me for Ethically Yours today. I'm very excited. And yeah, we've been doing great and yeah, just extremely thrilled to be talking to you about the disposal company and more.
Superb. So let's begin as I have a really long list of questions for you. So are you ready?
Yeah, of course, go for it.
Super, super. So, to begin with, your LinkedIn profiles about us says that the Disposal Company is India's first plastic credit platform dedicated to climate action, recycling plastic waste, and empowering waste workers. Firstly, congratulations on building such a strong platform, but help me simplify it. I'd like you to explain what each term in that bio really means. So, how about we start with plastic credits? What exactly are plastic credits?
Sure. So first, thanks a lot. And okay, so let's jump into plastic credits. So see, a very simple term. It's an analogous to carbon credits. I'm pretty sure that people are more familiar with carbon credits. Now, these credits, either plastic or carbon, when we talk about them, these are transferable certificates, which essentially indicate that in terms of plastic, that a particular quantity of plastic has been recovered from the environment and has been recycled. Now, in this process, we generally look at like a kg of plastic or maybe a ton of plastic. This plastic is first collected from landfills, where it is collected by rack pickers and waste aggregators. This plastic is then cleaned, segregated because it's mostly post-consumer plastic waste, which is generally hard to recycle. We also term it as low-value plastic waste. So, in terms of plastic, this plastic is recovered and then it is cleaned, segregated, and sent over to impact projects. Now, these impact projects are small recyclers across India right now, the ones that we deal with. Now, these recycling projects are also registered with Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB, which is the governing body on plastic waste in India. Now, these projects, when they recycle the plastic for us, so this entire process is also documented with PCB so that at any given point of time, a brand or an individual can verify the impact that we are creating. Now, once this entire process has happened, which is right from your recovery to recycling, and the plastic recycled is converted into like the next step or the next, mostly it's called GPPS. And like for the uninitiated, the GPPS essentially means General Purpose Polystyrene, which in real terms is circular economy, wherein this
Sorry,
plastic can now
sorry.
be
I'm
reused
going
to
to
make some other
I'm
projects.
going to interrupt here. I think I lost you at GPP C S.
S. Okay. Okay. So GPPS is Journal Purpose Polystyrene. Now, GPPS in real terms is what reflects your circular economy. So when we talk about circular economy and specifically in terms of plastic, you essentially mean that you take a product of which is made out of plastic, you recycle it, and then you can maybe make a different product out of this plastic, right? And you can maybe keep using this plastic again and again. So that's exactly what we do in this process. And once we ensure that the entire cycle or the loop has been closed, that's when a plastic credit certificate is generated, which reflects 1 kg of plastic now. So this is what we essentially transfer to a brand or a certificate or to an individual, signifying that they're now a plastic neutral brand or individual. I hope that was helpful.
I hope so. I'm a little confused yet, so I'm going to ask for further explanation. Are these
Sure.
granules that you're talking about when you say GPPS, and are they essentially converted into a different product or something like that? And who basically issues these certificates of plastic neutrality? Is it CPCB, or is there a different board who does that? How does that loop work?
Okay. Okay. So to answer your first question, what happens to these GPPS granules? So let me actually give you some realistic products that we make out of these GPPS granules. One is the photo frames. So photo frames industry in India has completely revolutionized the uptake of the GPPS granules, especially the recycled granules. So today the photo frames that are being made in India, especially if you see like a black plastic photo frame out there, the chances are very high that it is made out of recycled plastic. Then we are working with governments on certain projects where we're making park benches out of this recycled plastic. In fact, so there's a very common problem that we see, like even in higher societies, where the potholes, which were generally made out of metal, they used to get stolen, right? Just for the scrap value of metal. But now these are being replaced by the pothole covers being made out of recycled plastic. So, they wouldn't really hold much value for, somebody to steal them, yet they solve a major problem and they also promote like circular economy. Then we are making walls out of this recycled plastic, in fact. So a lot of government buildings are now incorporating like a particular wall, like, and they're dedicating some space to these recycled, plastic made walls. In fact, we are also making products like bangles. This you could count this as a downsizing a little bit, but then again, there is use case for a lower value of GPPS granules. So in tier 3 and tier 4 cities of India, the GPPS granules is actually being used to make bangles. So yeah, so those are just some of the use cases. But with every passing day, we're actually looking for more and more use cases for the GPPS granules. Now, coming to your second question, which was about who issues the certification for plastic neutrality. Now, there are two levels to certification. See, any certification would hold value if it's verified by a third party. So in this case, the first party, like essentially, the party ensuring. So recycler is the first party that is actually recycling the plastic on ground. Then the disposal company is where the second step of verification happens, where we verify it, through physical audits as well as through documentational audits. And CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, the governing body on plastic waste, is the third party involved here. That does the third party verification, and only upon this verification. So the impact project, they hold a license value for a period of only 1 year. Only upon a physical and a documentational audit by CPCB, their annual license is renewed. So that's how you can actually make sure that if you're getting like a certification, plastic neutrality certification, it comes from a CPCB verified impact project.
I have to say, you've gotten yourself into a pretty complicated business. So, tell me, so how do you basically build this entire infrastructure? Do you have your own recycling units? Do you work with other recycling units? You also mentioned in the bio that with the work that you're doing, you're essentially also trying to empower waste workers. So, can you help me understand what is the
Yeah.
role of waste workers in the entire plastic recycling ecosystem, and how does your platform help them do better?
Sure. So first is no, we do not own our own recycling project. We are an aggregator of recycling projects. So we work with small recyclers across the country and we bring them on a common platform where they can interact with brands. So the disposal company essentially is a bridge between the brands, the waste workers, and the recyclers. Now, coming to your the next part of the question, which is how do we empower waste workers? See, one, we have a very robust economy of waste collectors or waste pickers across India, and this economy, although it's not been mainstream, but it's been extremely vibrant. They've been working for like 2 or 3 decades now, and they have very good knowledge of they can identify plastic by its type just by looking at it. So they have an understanding. Now, what the disposal company has done is that we've not dismantled this ecosystem. In fact, we work on empowering them. So when we bring them on our common platform, these waste workers essentially have been working with low high value plastic waste traditionally. High value plastic waste being like your PET bottles or your HDPE or your transparent plastic. That's it. These simply high value plastic means something that will fetch you good value. Now, these waste workers have been traditionally working with them. What the disposal company does is that we focus on low value plastic waste. So the CPG industry, which is like our primarily clientele, that's a major generator of low value plastic waste. Now, when we work with rack pickers and waste aggregators, we tell them that we'll give you an equal amount or an equal pricing point for the low value plastic waste as you've been getting, similar to what you've been getting for high value as well. So these rack pickers have now an additional source of income. Second, we provide them better working conditions. So we provide them with the right gear to ensure that they're working in safe conditions. We provide them, your kits, your wearing gears, your boots, your your gloves and masks, everything, right? So and to ensure that these like the GHG emissions do not harm them. Second is, like I said, so we increase their modes of income when they go to a landfill. So today they do not have to anymore like go into landfills and then only pick out high value plastic out of it. They can pick up any plastic and the disposal company will make sure that it's recycled and they get fair market value for this. The third thing that we do for the rack pickers and waste aggregators is that in the industry, since we have now some commanding power due to the sheer amount of plastic waste that we control on a monthly basis and on an annual basis, we're able to command the right prices in the industry for them as well. So no more say if there's a bigger recycler out there, they cannot command and exploit them for lower pricing. So that's one. Lastly, we also ensure that our brands get involved deeper into working with waste workers and into this conversation where our brands constantly work with our practical communities to either sponsor certain health benefits for them or sponsor certain educational benefits for their children or just sometimes organize camps with them. So that's an additionality that we are working on.
That's quite commendable, I have to say, because there is enough and more reports and documentaries to really illustrate the condition of rack pickers and waste workers in our country. So kudos on that part. I have a couple more questions. When you mentioned that you work as an aggregator, um, how do you standardize the practices in a given recycling facility, or how do you ensure quality? um, since you work with multiple recyclers, do you have some sort of a SOP that you then try and activate with the factories that you work with? How does that streamline for you?
Right. So there are two sides to it. One is, of course, we have a SOP, we have a impact code that we work with, which not only defines the quality of the product that has to be prepared, but it also defines the working conditions. So, for example, our work does not stop at rack pickers and waste aggregators. In fact, the recyclers that we work with, so amongst our SOP, they also have to follow, having the right setup in their factories. For example, ensure the number of just your fire ensure the right setup for maybe like managing a fire or just the right setup even for the workers working in the factory if they have the right equipments to work with. So we do define those SOPs as well, and the disposal company is very strict about the kind of SOPs that have to be managed. In fact, our feet on the ground does very constant checks in these factories as well. That's something that and we hope to also now start publishing reports around that. Now, secondly, in terms of how we maintain the quality. So when we bring so we're trying to build an ecosystem here, and the disposal company is working as the bridge. So the next step towards this is when we ensure that all the plastic that is recycled, the given quantity that has been done for us, that also gets sold in the market later, so that the recyclers also have a constant motivation, which is a financial motivation to keep recycling the plastic for us. So we bring the players also on board who will then end up purchasing this. And to maintain that, we ensure that we take care of the quality of this plastic because that passes through us. So yeah, so the, and but I would have to also admit that if it's a process that we are working on. It's not completely, I would say, 100% like like safe process. We're still working on it. Every day, like we try that a better quality of recycled plastic can be produced, so that the uptake of like the GPPS granules or the recycled plastic increases.
No, that must be a mammoth task. I mean, I'm just, looking at how unorganized this entire sector is, and then to bring in processes and practices and standards. I think I can't even imagine the depth of work. And I'm glad that you also mentioned about, giving them a channel to sort of sell those products, because that was going to be my question, to say that how do you try and incentivize that, what is that X factor for them to work with you? But I think you've sort of answered that. The other thing, there is a bunch of different types of plastic that we generate. There's a single-use polybags, the PET bottles. There's all sort of packaging. There is single-layer, multi-layer plastic bottles, tubes, paper packaging that also is lined with plastic, and so many other kinds of plastic that sort of seeps into our life that we may not
Right,
even be aware of. So do you end up
right.
working with all kinds of plastic, or do you have certain limitations in the ecosystem that you're building?
So Darshana, honestly, it's been a journey for us. When we started, and we from the day one, we knew that we wanted to focus on low value plastic waste, because that's where the real problem lies. That's so if you go to a landfill today, chances are very high that you might not find a PET bottle there entirely, because somebody or the other would have picked it up. What you will find is the low value plastic waste, and that's something that is on all of us, especially after the pandemic. And during the pandemic, are like just like the sheer like amount of things that we've been consuming, and the consumption patterns have risen. So that was the real problem that we were focusing on. But having said that, we were not able to find solutions for MLP. So like you said, there are papers which have a plastic lining on them. There are glass, like there's glass which has plastic lining on them. There are paper cups. There are endless things. So all of like MLP, which is multi-layer packaging, was our biggest problem. But we started with like plastics like LDPE. We started with all grades of LDPE, then HDPE, and PP, PVC, and like but constantly, as we were looking for a solution for MLP. And about like 1.5 years ago is when we started working with like a small impact project around Delhi NCR, which was doing some revolutionary work. They were actually working on R&D for MLP. And then we sponsored some of those R&D, works, and we finally like now have impact projects working with us. In fact, like there are projects now who are actually learning from those R&Ds and bringing in newer technologies to recycle MLP. So today, like fortunately, we recycle almost every type of plastic. So yeah, and that's been a great learning journey for us as well. But also in terms of like our work is not only plastic offsetting, because that's not really the final solution. It's like a band-aid solution. I always say plastic recycling is a band-aid solution. It cannot be like the final step. Uh, so what we're also working on is we're working with brands to design their packaging better. So if you, for example, just randomly pick up, say, a shampoo bottle or a face wash bottle today, you will find two or three different elements on it. There'll be a bottle, there'll be a cap onto it. Today you might also have like a tube of sorts inside it, if there's a pump on it. And then there's a plastic like label material around it. So these are like three four different types of plastic. Now, earlier when people were designing the products, like especially the companies, the FMCG companies, they were not thinking about the end life cycle of these products. So you would just design something that would look great or have like a longevity, add to longevity to your product, and you would put it out in the environment. But today you need to think about it. So that's what we work on with brands, to ensure that maybe design products that have a single type of plastic onto them. Maybe don't have your label materials. If we can do away with them, or if we can bring in a more sustainable label material inside. So those small changes, and I think these will go a long way in then like reducing the amount of plastic waste we have.
It's interesting, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. I didn't know y'all were doing that, so I think it's a great step in the right direction where we talk about reduce in the first place instead of recycle. But since we're at it, can
Right.
you maybe help us give, maybe throw some numbers, some figures, but just give a context of what exactly is the situation or the problem with the plastic waste industry or packaging waste at large? Where do we stand as a country right now? And, what are the larger sources of this waste generation? Is it what kind of products is it? What kind of industries is it? So if you can just help us, set some context to the kind of problem that you're trying to solve here.
Sure. So look, we are generating about 300 million, MLP packaging, 300 million kgs of MLP packaging every year. Okay, and it's more. If we go on the same trajectory, this is going to more than triple by the next 3 years. So one, just maybe put that into context, and we're going to require at least $45 billion to just solve the plastic problem. If, also that is also like a optimistic number, if I have to put it that way. Given that the kind of plastic recycling is, going around the world. So these are like the top two numbers that I can tell you, upfront. Now, in terms of like what are the major problems with plastic waste today? So like I said, the major problem is the consumption patterns. See, the companies are going to keep producing till the time we, are going to keep consuming them. And also, consumption patterns don't just mean the sheer amount of, products that you're consuming. It also means that, like you, as somebody who's using these products, you need to highlight, you need to say that, okay, I'm ready to pay a premium, but maybe switch to a better material. Because frankly, today, most companies, if you think that, oh, somebody's going to have a vision about it just, randomly tomorrow, no, it's not happening. Because there's a cost involved to sustainability, and that cost is going to trickle down to you as a consumer at the end of the day. So most of the plastic problem that we're seeing today comes from CPG industry. And in fact, like if we just have to look at waste problem, it comes from fashion industry as well, as you are very well aware of this, right? So now, we as people, unless, if I have to say about fashion industry, if, unless, I as someone stop using fast fashion, or I stop, at least, like if I don't look at reducing my, buying pattern, people, like companies, are going to put it out in the market. So similarly with plastic, it's really one, like we need to voice that, hey, I'm ready to pay maybe a certain amount, but we need to switch to a better alternative. So CPG industry has been seeing this pattern. Apart from this, just, every organization that, you see today, our office, your office, every other office, they're like, we're just using plastic and we don't even realize. It's very simple to do away with plastic water bottles. Around the world, every minute we are putting out about 20 million plastic bottles. I think, yeah, I think that's the number. So putting out about 20 million plastic bottles every minute around the world. Now, we can do away with that. I see you using, a reusable bottle. I'm sure that, it's a little bit of hassle than buying bottle anytime, anywhere, but we need to take those steps in the right direction. So yeah, I think, like, did I answer your question?
Loud and clear. Thank you. No, I
Yeah.
do feel that there is a lot of responsibility on the consumers, but I'm also glad to see the kind of brands that you work with. And I've used a few of the skincare brands that you work with, and it's great to see that a lot of them have bottles and packaging that's made out of 100% recycled plastic as well, which is great. It's always nice to know that the brand that you vote with your money, and when you put your money at the right place, I'm sure that there is a lot of young entrepreneurs who want to do the right things. There is a
Yeah.
lot more that we have to discuss, but I just want to take a step back and ask you a little about your background, and how did you actually end up in the plastic recycling industry? Because it is unique, I mean, I also ended up working in sustainability, but I think what I do is a little more holistic, with, of course, fashion, craft, as a focus. But I think plastic and plastic recycling specifically is also somewhat technical. So what's your background? How did you get here?
So I started my career by working as an advisor to Delhi CM, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, on public grievances. Now, a lot of my work in public grievances actually centered around the problems that people around who live near the Ghazipur landfill in Delhi. Now, this is the tallest garbage mountain in India. And it's infamous, for all the GHG emissions. It's infamous for all the health problems it has caused to people living in the vicinity, plus just like everyday problems that even the businesses face around that problem. So in my role as an advisor to CM, we used to every day just go through a bunch of these documents that would just like bring us back to this Ghazipur landfill, and that also involved like some of the physical audits that I used to do there. So during that time, like I like specifically remember that initially like we would just even struggle to get out of our cars because of the sheer smell in this plastic dump. And when we did, like we could see that Delhi's like one end you could see like Delhi's skyline, and on the other end you would see this mountain of garbage and filled with plastic, just filled with plastic, all sorts of plastic. That really caught my attention, and then just I used to research on it. I was working on it, and then fortunately through this work I also got a chance to work with certain early recyclers who were working on plastic, and Delhi government was really working towards empowering them. And so that just really got me into the technical stuff later and just caught my attention. From there, I actually pivoted and started working with these recyclers on setting up more units, bringing in newer technologies. I visited a few countries and just saw what all technologies are around there. What's happening in China, what's happening in Germany. So a lot of exhibitions as well, and then brought in certain technologies, worked with them. So I worked on ground with certain recyclers across Delhi NCR, and then we found that all these sophisticated technologies would just not work for a simple reason that in these countries there is a system for plastic segregation, which we don't have in India. We are used to dumping all our plastic waste together, with your food waste, with your organic, all the waste. So that kind of seemed like a futile effort. And then I started working on actually understanding what could we do to make these machinery compatible for Indian waste. And that so that rabbit hole just took me down to certain years, 2 3 years of my life just figuring out the technologies. And once we had certain right technologies, and then I just moved on to replicating them. I worked with Whirlpool and Mohan McCain's on consulting basis, and worked with these companies to help establish their in-house waste management system. And from there in 2020, I got married, moved to Rajasthan, and I started set up another plastic recycling unit, which was the first authorized unit in Jaipur. And during pandemic, I also consulted the government in Rajasthan on managing cities waste, and then we were ourselves running the unit. And then we saw this huge consumption pattern that I keep talking about, and the sheer rise of the number of D2C brands that we saw in India. That to me just looked like, oh my god, the amount of waste that we're going to see now. So from there, I incorporated a disposal company, and we brought in the mechanism of plastic credits to the Indian market.
It's quite a journey. Congratulations yet again.
Thank you.
So in this entire journey, I'm sure there must have been a lot of ups and downs. I've had my own entrepreneurial journey, so I could maybe guess the ups and downs, but the thrill is just insane. And of course, firsts are always special. So tell me about the first time. In fact, it could be both the sides. Initially, I just want to ask you how your experience was reaching out to a brand to get them on board and help them understand what you were doing, what plastic credits would really mean. But tell me about both the sides. How was it when you went to the first brand and to the first recycler to say that, hey guys, I've set up this company and I don't know whether you've heard about this or not before, but join me. So tell me about that experience. Tell me if people understood what you were doing. Tell me everything.
So to be honest, I don't think like people till date like understand it at the first go, like what we really do. It's more of it trying to change a habit pattern, so that part is still like a journey for us. But so we pivoted a lot. It was not easy. We created bunch of solutions that just did not work, that were not right either. Like, sometimes our solution was not packaged right. Sometimes we were not using the right words, and then sometimes it was not the right value that we were asking for our product. So not that simple. Like we pivoted and pivoted and pivoted until we stumbled upon the right set of solutions with the right packaging and the right pricing. It was comparatively easy when I went to like from the operations perspective, because I come from the industry. So talking to rack pickers and waste aggregators, building those communities, building the POC and SOP for that whole operations part, and then coming to recyclers, it was comparatively easier for me. Just because I had a background in that ecosystem, so people were like, "Okay, we don't fully get what you're trying to do, but we'll support you." So I did get a lot of support on that side, and also our pitch to them was that we're trying to do something where we'll bring in more money for you. So are you like up for this project? So that pretty much that was a bit sorted for us. On the brand side, I really don't remember like how many brands in the first phase we reached out to, but it was just like an endless no 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 no. Until we stumbled upon Caffeine, which is one of the biggest skincare brands in India today. So the founders at M Caffeine, I still remember it was a cold message on LinkedIn. I messaged Tarun, the one of the co-founders, on LinkedIn, and I said, "Hey Tarun, this is something that we're trying to do, and would you be up to just hear me out?" And within like the next 15 minutes, I actually got a message back from Tarun saying that we are trying to become sustainable. We don't know how, and if you really have a solution for our plastic packaging problem, glad to hear you out. And I think Tarun really did give chance to a lot of people in those terms. That I think even today, someone goes to him and tells him that hey, there's a sustainable. This is how you can make caffeine more sustainable. I think he'll hear you out. So we got the chance. We got on a call, and it took me 1 hour to explain to him the whole process. But I told him that you're going to be the first one to actually be doing this. So you'll have to be as crazy as me, that I'm going to tell you that this is how it's going to be done, and like yeah, you'll have to be the first brand. But after M Caffeine did and I'm very happy that M Caffeine was the first brand that we worked with, just because of the image that M Caffeine holds, the power in the industry M Caffeine holds. Because from there, the day the first PR came out, it snowballed for us, because it kind of became like the industry standard that if M Caffeine is doing this, everybody needs to be doing this. So yeah, so that's our journey, and we till date like very fortunate to have M Caffeine as one of our biggest partners.
Damn good. Lovely. Tell me more about the kind of brands that you're working with. Who are these brands? What industries do they come from? And so, when you approached your first brand, there was an intent to become sustainable. So, do you typically end up working with brands that have certain core values inclined to sustainability, or are you also engaged with brands who have nothing remotely, even in terms of awareness or sense of responsibility towards it, but are now bending towards it?
I'll answer the latter part of your question first. So see, there are multiple reasons that brands work. Okay, sometimes yes, there is like a inherent core, the like reason that that the founders or the team is just that yes, we want to be sustainable. It defines who they are in person. So if somebody is really enthusiastic about sustainability, so we have like a lot of brands where that's been the case. There has also been like case where it's more from the like push from the investor side, because today a lot of investors take sustainability as part of the risk assessment for a brand. So we talk about that even in terms of ESG on a larger level, where today globally ESG is considered as part of the risk assessment for companies. So that's there. In fact, in India today, we are starting to see that from investors. A lot of investors, in fact, like push towards sustainability. So Fireside Ventures, for example, is very bullish on sustainability amongst their portfolio brands. So one of the reasons is that. Third is that it's industry standards. Like when your competitor is doing this, that and it's given them an edge in the industry, you've got to do the same. So I think and the industry pressure is going to be largely the reason why most of the people are going to be doing this. So it's a combination of all the reasons. In terms of the partner brands that we are working with, yes, we have a great deal of like brands who where like I said, so it really comes from the founders where they envision their brand to be a sustainable one. I think it also comes from the that the TG today, the millennials or the Gen Z, they really do care about environment, and they want like the brands that they interact with to be more humane. So to do that, you can't just like we're not in an era where just saying is enough. You need to prove that your money is where your mouth is. So you need to do things and prove to them that we're doing this about the environment, and you can also be a part of this initiative. So yeah, so for example, so today the brands that we're working, so we're actually working with about 55 brands today, and they're across your skincare and beauty industry. So like I said, M Caffeine, Pilgrim, and then Juicy Chemistry, Better Beauty, Vanity Wagon. So not just brands, we're actually now working with aggregators. Uh, and Sublime Life and Vanity Wagon are two of the biggest aggregators in the beauty industry today, and they actually focus only on conscious beauty. So they're also our partners. We work with food-based CPG brands like Slurp Farm and then True Vitals. So we are also starting to work. We work with Nutraceutical, Wellbeing Nutrition, Setu Nutrition, and then Cure Health. So that is another industry that we're working with. Very recently, we started also working with some of the fashion brands like Edamama is one of our first partners. And in fact, another reason that I forgot to mention is like apart from investors, in fact, the brand ambassadors are also now pushing towards sustainability. So a lot of our partner brands are actually backed or the investors include Virat Kohli, Anushka Sharma, Alia Bhatt, Deepika Padukone, and Sara Ali Khan. So in fact, like we've seen that it has come from the ambassadors that like they would want to work with the more sustainable brands. So yeah, so these are just some of our partner brands. We're also working with Slay Coffee, Blue Tokai Coffee, and we hope to work more with the QSR industry as well in the coming few days.
Interesting. I'm glad that you mentioned one fashion brand because that was going to be my pivot as well. The beauty, wellness, food generally has a kind of packaging that carries plastic. When you look at the fashion industry, what sort of plastic waste are you looking at, recycling?
Yeah. So see, fashion industry actually it does have considerable amount of plastic which we generally end up ignoring. So one like very straightforward is the packaging that we see which is used to maybe pack your shirts or t-shirts or any your anything. So that's the primary packaging that we see. But if you today pull up a garment, you more likely see a tag just behind your on the collar side. So that tag actually includes plastic, and they actually include microplastics, which are very harmful. In most cases, the buttons, if there are any on your garment, they have microplastics in them. Then a lot of brands also include like small spaghetti stripes for you to hang your clothes. Right, all of them have microplastics in them. If you have any sort of label which you generally would see on H&M or Zara, the white labels that you have attached to your garment, all plastic. So all of them have microplastics, and microplastics are even more harmful than your like a large plastic that you can actually hold and see, because these microplastics, when you wash your garment, they will actually go into the water, and this water once it enters it like flushes out and it enters your water body. It's gonna come back to you. It's one gonna harm the water bodies in the marine life, and second, it's gonna come back to you in some form. And even today, we are seeing that newborn babies are born with microplastics inside their body. We are in fact consuming every year, on an average, an individual consumes microplastics equal to a credit card. But and in fact, that's old data. It's way more than that we're consuming today. So yeah. So I think like that, it's time that fashion industry also starts offsetting its plastic footprint, and then also simultaneously work with reduction on plastic.
Interesting. Well, the fashion industry has a lot of work to do, and I know that there are a lot of people who are working tirelessly, and of course, the consumers have a very, very huge role to play. And I think one of the things that is sort of helping a consumer with a little more mindful consumption within the fashion industry are certifications, or certain labels that sort of guide them with a little more information about what is this product made of, whether in terms of materials, is it an organic cotton, is it a natural fiber, is it a man-made fiber, where is it produced, and things like that. In your case, I've also seen something that you've launched called the Seal of Sustainability. Tell us a little about
Right.
this. Is this similar to these kind of labels that fashion brands carry? Is it a kind of certification? And what does it do to the brand, to your recycling partners, and to your consumers? What is the thought process behind launching this Seal of Sustainability?
Okay. So let me paint a picture for you, and I need your help in this. So suppose, like, just pick up, if you pick up a random product, like, any CPG product, like, maybe a face wash or maybe any skincare product, most likely you'll see a recycling sign on your product, right?
Yeah.
You'll see like a recycling sign with a number inside it, or maybe like you'll see a dustbin and a man putting something in a dustbin. Have you seen those
Yep.
things? Uh, just tell me, what does that recycling sign signify to you? What does it mean to you?
Well, it just says that it is recyclable. The fact that I have to
Right.
take the onus as a consumer to ensure that it is segregated and it reaches a right recycling center. But I think I can say that because maybe I might be a slightly informed consumer. But for anybody
Exactly.
who says that, would say, okay, my job is done. That sign says
Yeah.
something.
So more than 75% of people assume that that recycling sign actually means that, that it's being
Right.
recycled. In fact, so people don't know what recyclable means. Like, a lot of brands are nowadays writing recyclable. That's just greenwashing. It does not mean anything. Okay. So now, you as a consumer, somebody who's like, passionate about sustainability, somebody who cares about the environment, but if you go to, like, an aisle today to purchase something, how do you really know? And, like, how are you to pick up a product and know that you're making an informed purchase? This is where the seal of sustainability comes into picture. Because seal of sustainability certification says loud and clear that this company, this brand, is taking care of their plastic footprint. So we launched the seal of sustainability trademark certification to eliminate any sort of greenwashing. Where there are third party checks, and only upon those checks is a certification issued to a brand that this brand is really taking care of their footprint, and the consumer can make a conscious decision and not have the burden of wondering if I'm making, like, an environmentally safe purchase or not. So that's the baseline of it. Now, see, any certification, it needs to hold authority. It needs to be backed. So couple of things that we do. So like I said, so one is that the disposal company itself does the audit. We do physical verification, and then, like, so every month there is a audit done with the brand, where the audit is across their SKUs, where we understand what type of plastic are they using in their product, and an equal and same amount of plastic is also being offset from the environment. Now, this audit is then backed by the audit by CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board. Apart from this, in fact, we encourage all our partner brands to carry out another audit with their auditor, that, they can do, and brands do that. In fact, investors do that. So Fireside does that. So brands would do audit, they would visit our facilities, impact partners, and see for themselves that the plastic that we're claiming to be recycled is actually recycled, and it's all post consumer plastic waste. So we ensure that there's additionality in this process, and the same is also reported to the government. So the idea of seal of sustainability is simply to eliminate any sort of greenwashing.
So we can confidently say that it is a certification of sorts that a person or a consumer can look out for when
Yes,
buying a product.
yes, exactly. So we in fact encourage all our partner brands to put seal of sustainability everywhere across their packaging, on their websites, so that the consumers can know and be aware that you're offsetting the plastic footprint for them.
Okay. The other question is, now that you have sort of established this as a certification, and I do see that you have multiple layers of third party intervention to sort of verify and validate this data. Are you looking at extending this certification to other brands that may not be a partner of your organization, like other certification bodies globally do within the fashion ecosystem? Or is it something that only a brand who is partnered with the disposal company can sort of, avail of this or will be qualified for this certification?
No. So like I said, the idea of seal of sustainability is actually to make the purchase decision easier for the consumer. So we've created an SOP, and we've already started the process of onboarding brands who, regardless if they're not partners with the disposal company, but if they can furnish the documents to actually verify that yes, they are a plastic neutral brand, they can access the seal of sustainability. And in fact, like beyond that, we're not just giving the seal of sustainability and issuing it to plastic neutral brands. We are now coming up with newer seals, which are like a seal for plastic neutral workplace as well. Because a lot of employees today want that their organization actually shares their enthusiasm for in like climate action. So we are working with organizations at large who can access the seal of sustainability, given that they like actually prove to us that they take like X number of actions on eliminating the plastic from their ecosystem, from the supply chain. And going ahead, we're also coming up with an SOP for a carbon neutral brand, and carbon positive brands as well.
I have to say that launching a certification of your own is no game. So if you have really done it the way you're saying, I think kudos to you. It's a massive, massive project.
Thank you.
Are there any other seals or certifications or labels within the plastic neutrality realm at this point that are available in India or originating from India?
I don't know of anyone originating from India though, but in terms of availability, yes. So Vera is a non-profit organization that is also working on setting standards for plastic waste management globally. So Vera does have a certification. I think yeah, that's the epitome of like global certifications in terms of plastic waste. So in fact, we are looking to associate with Vera and have the seal of sustainability and Vera certification coming together.
Nice. The other thing that you mentioned was the fact that individuals are very keen, so employees are keen, but there are sustainability activists and advocates who are doing a lot of work by themselves to, live more mindfully or are inspiring people around them. And I think in one of our conversations, you did mention about launching a platform that will sort of help individuals become plastic neutral as well. So before we get to the platform, can you tell me what it would mean for an individual to be plastic neutral?
Sure. So, see, from an individual perspective, the first, so anytime, so give either a brand or an individual, the first part is measurement. So, you measure your plastic footprint. How you do that? So, for individuals, we're launching a plastic footprint calculator. And through this plastic footprint calculator, you just have to input certain data points where, like, it talks about how many, garments do you buy, how many plastic bottles do you buy, how, what sort of consumption patterns do you have. It just takes a consumption pattern into account, and then it comes up with a number of in terms of kg, what is your plastic footprint in a year or in a month. Now similarly, how we do it for organizations, either that or you can take the global average plastic footprint, which is 50 kg. So, which means that on an average, an individual will use 50 kgs of plastic in a year. Now, in either ways, so to become a plastic neutral individual, you need to offset those kgs of plastic footprint, which means that you finance a plastic recycler to recycle 50 kgs of post-consumer plastic waste for you. Now, the disposal company can help you do that. You can finance one of our impact project partners, and we will ensure that the post-consumer plastic waste of an equivalent amount to your footprint is offsetted by us, and you receive a certification for it, similar to how brands receive the certification. So this is one. Now the second is that just apart from encouraging people, we are now moving on to incentivizing individuals to recycle their plastic waste. So we're launching TDC Aqua very soon. Now TDC Aqua, what it does for you is that when you recycle plastic waste, so for every kg of plastic that you recycle and the amount that you put in for that, against every rupee you earn one TDC Aqua point. And this TDC Aqua point is like a cred, how actually Darshana defined it. It's a cred where you can use these points to earn exclusive rewards from sustainable brands. So primarily your plastic neutral brands, but we'll also be bringing in climate neutral brands as well. So you can simply use these points to avail those offers. And these will be your exclusive rewards as a climate neutral individual.
Interesting. And is this app live? Can people download it? How does it work? Is there a sign up? Is it invite only?
Yeah. Yeah. So couple of things on the app. It's going to be live very soon, but we're not yet launching an app. We'll be launching a website for it. And in fact, you will be able. So one is that you can simply go onto the TDC Aqua app, and you'll be able to log in and keep earning those rewards. In fact, apart from earning the rewards by offsetting your footprint, so every time you make a plastic neutral purchase with one of our partner brands that has our API, which means that some of our partner brands at the checkout, they give you an option to add rupees X to make your or plastic neutral, your order plastic neutral. So when you do that, even for those points, you will be earning leather TDC Aqua points. So very soon, we'll be releasing the TDC Aqua platform, and yeah, you'll be able to get those exclusive rewards then.
I like it. I love being rewarded for good behavior. And I think that is what has been missing because we're expecting a change of behavior. I think this entire conversation of sustainability, more than anything, is really about psychology and behavior change. So I think
Definitely.
it's a formula that has worked for centuries, that if you reward people perform better. So I really wish you the best for this
Thank
particular
you so much.
platform. It sounds extremely promising, so I hope that more and more people engage with it, learn more about plastic waste segregation at home as well, and just keep doing one good deed at a time. So, as we come towards the end of our conversation, I just want to ask you, how do you personally feel about plastic as a material? I've spoken to a few people as part of this podcast, and a lot of them have felt that plastic as a material is an absolutely amazing innovation to come to think of it. But it is us who couldn't manage it well, and that's the reason why it's become a huge problem for us. But what are your views on plastic? And do you think that with all the newer material innovations that we're seeing day in, day out, do you think plastic is going to be phased out as a preferred material for packaging? Or do you think plastic is here to stay and that we just need to really learn to manage it better?
See, I definitely agree with people, who have said that, yes, it's a brilliant innovation, for n number of reasons. Like, simple reason being that one, it's long lasting. Second, that, it fits the budget, for the packaging companies, and for all the products where we use it today. There's a reason why plastic became so popular, right? So I do like agree with them, but having said that, yes, I also feel that at some point it did go out of hand. Like, we started producing it at a sheer amount that we really do not have the infrastructure to control or to manage. So both the management and the production really need to go hand in hand. And now when in during this conversation, when you bring in like a third, product, or say an alternative of plastic, yes, I'm all for, newer materials. I'm all for newer alternatives to plastic, and especially, when something like husk can be used, something which is like, otherwise a byproduct, which is going to waste otherwise. If that can somehow be utilized and, be used as an alternative, that would be our best case scenario. But with that, we also, any product, new material that we introduce, now is the time when we think about the end life cycle of that product. We cannot do the same mistake that we did with plastic, because when we started producing plastic, we were really not thinking about what's going to happen to it once, it's been used once, once it's been dumped, what then? So any new material that we that is introduced in the market, we cannot mindlessly hop onto it and say yes, it's better. It We need to prove that yes, it's better, because we also need to show how this product is going to either go back into circular economy, or how what the end life cycle of this product is.
You've already achieved so much with the disposal company, but and I know that you're fairly young, just about 3 years. So what would be your ultimate dream for your company?
So our vision really is to, become, we would like to become the authority on climate action in India. And in fact, we are now going global. So very recently our work was recognized, and as part of the Commonwealth Games, we were invited to open our office in Birmingham to support UK's net zero, which is their work towards net zero. So, but before, we've already opened up our offices in UK and we started working with brands there as well. But we would like that our work in India comes to a stage where, on an industry level, we can help brands become plastic neutral, help them become carbon neutral. And so, just like your podcast, our motto, we actually share the motto. We just want to simplify climate action for everyone. So we want, we see that, us being at the center of ecosystem, where any brand, no matter how small, how big, if they decide that yes, we want to go sustainable, the disposal company should be able to start there, and get them going on the vision from day one. So they don't have to wait anymore. Sustainability should not be expensive.
My best wishes for you to achieve all your dreams. Well, that brings us to my last question to you. And my parting question to you would be, if you were to print a quote on a t shirt, what would that say?
Hope for the climate. So I think that's really my message. On some days, it's sending out good vibes, and just talking to people, asking them what they are doing, and what, if I can learn something, and what, if I can tell them maybe two things. On my bad days, it's yeah, I'm really hoping that there's a change coming along. So yeah, that keeps me going. Hope for the climate.
I love it. Though I've been asking all my guests these questions, I'm really hoping that I actually print these t-shirts and send it your way someday.
Yeah.
So that's going to take a little more effort
Yes.
from me, but hope. Thank
Yes.
you so much, Bhagyashree. I think this has been amazing. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Darshana. And really, I'm very glad that you are deep dive into this, and you asked very just bold questions. And I got a chance to actually put this information out to Ethically Yours podcast. So thank you so much for having me again, and I had a great time speaking with you.
Pleasure. Well, thank you so much for listening. Do share your feedback and go listen to the other episodes on this podcast. For now, signing off, Ethically Yours, Darshana.